Hey, what's up YouTube, and welcome to our intro to Hell Dorado. Set in an alternate Earth during the 30 Years' War in Europe in the 17th century, a portal is discovered leading to a very real place that can only be described in one word: Hell. In Hell Dorado, players assemble a company of adventurers fighting for control of Hell itself. The game is played with between 6 and 16 28mm miniatures over a 30-inch by 30-inch terrain board. Games typically last 35 to 80 minutes. In order to play, you will need 5d6, a tape measure, a surface of at least 30 inches by 30 inches, terrain, and of course miniatures and stat cards from Cypher Studios, the Hell Dorado rulebook, and be sure to check out the new Inferno expansion while you're at it. We'll now take a moment to briefly overview the 6 factions available for the game. The Westerners are a mix of soldiers, missionaries, and explorers from the various regions of Europe such as Spain and Germany. Westerners feature a strong, ranged game, as well as sporting high armor. Demons are the horrifying inhabitants of Hell, grotesque and terrifying. Many of the damned ones represent the deadly sins of man, and they favor melee and feature a lot of terror-inducing models. Saracens are made up of Islamic warriors and magical creatures, known as the Jinn. Saracens have a good mix of combatants and feature a playstyle designed for buffing and synergy. The Lost are damned creatures who rebel against the demonic dominion of Hell. The Lost tend to favor a fast and mobile combat-heavy playstyle. Yanluang Buddhists, the Immortals, are composed of fully human and hybrid demon peasants, warriors, and nobles. Immortals are elite warriors whose fighting aspects can change according to the manipulation of light and dark forces. And finally, mercenaries are a hodgepodge mix of warriors and creatures who may have abandoned the order of their previous faction or master and will now work for just about anyone. A diverse collection of adventurers, crusaders, profiteers, and creatures. The mercenaries can be hired into other companies so they can form up companies of their own. For more background and lore on Hell Dorado, check out this video on lore put out by Titan Terrain Studios. So before we end this intro and begin the rest of the intro, allow me to include my personal opinion here. As a skirmish game, Hell Dorado has an awful lot going for it when I compare to the dozens of skirmish games that I've played. Hell Dorado is has a fast and brutal system. Its smaller board size and slick mechanics get you into the action quickly. The core mechanics feature concepts that are easy to learn, such as using a maximum of 5d6 for combats, yet features some rather novel approaches to streamlining a game, yet adding depth and complexity. The command point system is integral to mastering the game and compels players to manage resources in order to stack the odds and even the turn sequence in their favor. Despite the fact that this game's original design is now several years old, I find that many of today's new skirmish systems are still struggling to achieve the simplicity and the depth that Hell Dorado achieves, and it can still deliver this in a package congruent with its theme and setting. The game is also convenient to your average adult lifestyle, something not allowed by those more popular games. The game has a reasonable startup price at about $36 for a starter set, and would maybe run you twice that to reach the recommended size for a full game, plus another $40 for the core rulebook once you get a few games beyond the quick start rules. With a low model count, short game time, and small board, I also find this game super convenient and portable, as well as fast, cheap, and you end up getting a lot more depth in your gameplay versus the more popular games out there. I will admit at first, Hell Dorado seemed like it was a contrived game with its religious and historic tones that can be considered offensive to some of the thinner-skinned gamers out there. The miniatures are somewhat adult-themed and might even creep out a person or two. But once I started assembling and painting these all-metal kits, I found them to be deeply rewarding for painting and collecting, and now I can't seem to have enough of them. The game does have a few downsides, however. First off, I feel the game never realized its full potential for an audience upon release, so even though it got a healthy shot in the arm with the successful Inferno Kickstarter, this is a game that would require a bit of initiative on your part if you really want people in your area to play it. And while the rules are fairly clear and sport some easy concepts to grasp, navigating the rulebook to reference the game's abundant terminology for common abilities can be frustrating at times. The game lacks individual model customization or upgrades, and some of you players may miss that, although I personally do not favor the upgrade systems in all games. And finally, I point out that with any system as deep as Hell Dorado, there's a potential for veteran players to grief new players, so this is just a trade-off with all that for all that depth. I find that while one can grasp enough basic concepts of Hell Dorado to play it comfortably after attending a few reasonably delivered demos, the game is best learned in layers of complexity. In this series I will highlight key concepts of gameplay which should be enough to get you started, and build upon these concepts with the aim to demonstrate gameplay as the series completes. Enjoy!